shit up in New York City? Do you got, like, just assholes falling into manholes trying to catch a fucking Doug trio?
Probably. I haven't actually had the opportunity to, like, leave my house very much in the last, like, 2 weeks because I just got a new job and it's literally on the block where I live.
Oh.
So, I'm doing that and I'm doing my artwork. I'm not going places right now. I'm dreading actually leaving, like, my core unit and going to the park again and seeing, like this video where I saw a whole, like, horde of people just, like, gravitating towards Central Park because they're, I don't know, needed to catch a fucking diglet or whatever it is they got over there.
Oh, God. Well, we started.
Yeah.
We can't waste any of this. So we started.
Yeah, let's
we started on recording, and we'll just.
Luca, how do you pronounce your last name so we get it right?
Carey.
All right.
How?
Like the guy who ran for president, Carey.
Oh, so okay. I was gonna say Luca Fettuccine.
I wish there was some sort of celebrity we could remember that name from, because it's really difficult.
Ferry.
Yeah. So yeah, that guy, Tom Ferry. He was the
that's my middle name.
Well, this is the.
I don't think I've ever met the Federation.
All right. Well, this is us here at the Grad Lab Podcast. We got myself, Jordan Scribner, and over here Don Fox as always.
Hey.
And today we have a special guest via Skype. It's Luca Carey. Hey, Luca, how's it going?
Terrible.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah, Luca's a SCAD alum.
Alright, well.
I took a class with him 3 years ago.
So you guys, I don't think I ever met you, Jordan, but Donald, you're still doing the SCAD thing? Are you in the grad program?
Yeah, I'm a grad student now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the grad
Yay.
student.
The only one.
The great hope.
The grad student.
Yeah. No, that's.
You've eliminated all the others. Good. I always knew I could believe in you.
It's like Highlander, only, like, much sadder and involving, like, the Hulk.
Yeah, Garfield.
Yeah.
You can never make enough Highlander jokes. Even though I've never seen the whole movie in its entirety, like, for some reason, I can't have a full conversation without at least one, there can only be one reference. Either from me or from somebody else.
But, like, what's the Garfield version of that? He just, like, kicks Odie off the table, and he's just, like, he ascends to the heavens, just shining and godlike.
Yeah. He just eats John, and then he can make his own lasagna without depending on a human.
Yes, he eats John's face like he does a plate of lasagna. That's just it. That's the final Garfield.
Yeah, that's...
I'm all for feline empowerment. I think that's great.
Yeah. We got a few more that we still need to fight. We still need to fight for control over the graduate program, and we're gonna knock it down. We're all gonna put ourselves on the island or something and just fight it out. And that'll be sweeps at the end of the summer.
Yeah, please do. I mean,
It's like, I don't know. They're gonna.
I graduated from the. Oh, sorry.
They're gonna ask you guys to do like a 3-point perspective drawing, and that'll just be it. That'll finish you all off. I will emerge triumphant. And even I
The
say
final
that.
challenge is a 4-point perspective.
Yeah. And I'll be like, oh
Fisheye, motherfuckers.
It just keeps getting worse, and we have to do.
no. John Lowe just goes
John
Super
Larson
Saiyan
eats
and blasts me with perspective.
We get to 6-point perspective, and then we open the gates of hell, and then we have to like develop 10-point perspective to fight Satan.
Yes, 666-point perspective. And then it's just a pentagram, and we're fucked.
Yeah. Well, for
It's actually the secret of Metatron's cube 6-point perspective. If you do it correctly, it does actually lead to the gates of hell. I've done it. I wouldn't recommend it per se, and yet I have no regrets.
Alright, well, it's for all 5 of our listeners, look up Luca Carey's work. Lots of I've been looking at some of the stuff. This is fun as hell. This is especially like holy crap color.
Yes.
That's a lot of it. But yeah, what I want to hear about this. Like what goes into like all these super trippy compositions, and like all this crazy intricate detail that you're putting in these works. I can't even really tell what you're working
process. Your passion.
Say that again, Donald.
Tell us about your process. Your passion.
It's mostly sorrow and poverty, actually.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I really, you guys wouldn't know anything about that, I'm sure. But I think I was raised on a lot of science fiction, and it's hard to not be influenced by the good stuff. I just have a pretty vivid kind of sense of, like, I don't know what the non-stupid sounding way of saying this is, but, you know, like, you might say, like, oh, I have a great imagination. I don't know what I have a great imagination, but it's very easy for me to picture seamlessly, like, very abstract and very colorful kind of, like, alternates for things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh,
you
perfect.
mean, Luca, you don't play a video game?
It doesn't, actually.
You mean you think? You don't just like play a video game or something, or watch a cartoon and then draw that? Like, you don't draw a character and then in a different hat and then you did it?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, like, what is it?
Breaking up a little bit.
Oh, no. Yeah. Hold on. Well, hopefully we don't lose you in the process, but yeah, it's just, I don't know if it, like this is going to be like the dumb question to go along with it, but I'm just curious. Is this all like, is this digital, or like what are you working in to get this look? Because in addition to like almost all digital. All right, nice. Yeah, it's just a lot of it, the textures you're using, a lot of really cool ink wash sort of textures, but I couldn't really guess just by looking. But yeah, so we'll send all 5 of our most loyal listeners your way.
Man, that could pay dividends in a couple of years. We could have like 10 viewers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that everyone comes back to listen to the classics.
We have comments turned off, so no one can argue with us, so nobody cares.
I actually had a podcast with a friend of mine. I mean, we're still going to do it, but he moved out for the summer, and we're going to resume doing it like at some point next year. But it's funny because I have about 3 pages that I manage on Facebook, and one of them is called Retail Bob, because we worked together at the same store for a little while, me and my friend, and there was this really old guy, sweet as hell, but he was like 95 years old or something, no idea why he was even working anymore, but so we gave him a page, right, a Facebook page, and every once in a while it'll be like, Retail Bob has like 1 new like, I was like, oh, that's great. But the podcast that we have together, which is, which is called Mind Scout, it's like every once in a while we get 1 notification. It's like, Mind Scout has 1 new view, which means that officially our podcast is less popular than a 95-year-old man working at Banana Republic.
Oh man,
I
want to go meet that 95-year-old man.
How long
he was. I don't even know. This is like a year ago. I don't even know if he's still around, but he was. If he is, that guy's cool as hell. He's like.
The odds are probably not.
That age to have.
Well, when you said 95-year-old man, like, this is probably like bad on me, but I imagine like Walmart greeter or something, and not Banana Republic. That's way better.
Like, did he just start working there when he was 20?
I mean, Banana Republic.
And he's just in it for the long haul?
If you ever actually spent any time at Banana Republic, which I hope you don't, it's the distinctions begin to get blurrier the longer you spend in there.
Oh god, I walk by it and just the smell and the music alone drives me away.
What's it smell like?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, it smells like really abusive cologne, and then it's just constantly going.
Oh, Harry, no, that's weird. Sounds like a.
I worked there for almost over a year.
Nice.
Terrible, really bad, actually. Yeah.
Any retail,
I
but
know,
man, you gotta go down.
Unfortunately, I gotta. Yeah.
What was that?
Sorry.
No, we're just cutting in and out now. But what was your podcast about, the one that you're just mentioning?
Yeah. What do you got going on?
It was basically it's like politics mostly. My friend is his name is Micah Fleck. He's actually like, he's not like, oh, he's important, but he goes to Columbia University. He's like involved in the whole libertarian movement. He actually is friends with a guy who came in behind Gary Johnson in second place for the Libertarian Party nomination.
Oh, cool.
If that means anything to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's lots of like kind of social and cultural stuff and everything.
Nice. Yeah. We can talk politics. Donald Trump caught a Blastoise, and Hillary doesn't know what Pokemon Go is.
I didn't understand that joke she tried to make.
No.
Oh man.
Like, can we figure out how to get them to Pokego to the
Are you guys Sorry. We're talking over each other because I think there's a slight delay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please say that again.
Yeah, Hillary was just like, I don't know who made Pokemon Go, but how can we get them to Go to the polls or something like that? And I was like, what do you think? Like some. Are you gonna like try and trick people into getting into the voting booth by thinking they can catch a riot you or something?
That is what people are saying. They should put gyms at polling places so that people
Shit,
actually
man.
go.
If you did that,
You mean like you sign up for Pokemon Go and it automatically registers you
like
as a
honestly,
Democrat?
what's scared me? But no, that would work like in a way scarier and truer fashion than I think even maybe all of us are willing to admit to ourselves, right? Like if the election were held next week, and right now, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are almost neck and neck. Actually, I think they are pretty much almost high. If you just like put a whole bunch of rare ass Pokemon in the polling stations, like, oh my god, there might be a Mewtwo there, just saying, like, that'll just be like, Bernie Sanders will win by write-ins. Like all the young people will just come in and like write in Bernie Sanders, and that'll just be the end of the election.
Look at that! What had happened?
They got to figure out how to make registration part of like signing up for a new Pokemon Go team or something.
Look at that! What had happened? If anything, they just write in like goddamn Scanny or something.
Oh yeah, like
Meowth.
That could be it. Meowth could be president.
President-elect Meowth.
That's it.
Like, I thought we were writing the name of our favorite Pokemons. Who was this Hillary Clinton person?
Maybe
I haven't caught one of those yet.
Hey, maybe that's what happened with Brexit.
Yeah,
maybe that's what happened with Brexit. They just thought they were gonna throw a Pokeball and capture it.
Yeah, they wanted to leave the UN because they wanted to
guys,
leave the.
Brexit was before Pokemon.
Not the UN. What was it? They wanted to leave the European Union because they'd already caught all the Pokemon in that region, and they thought they could get more. That's like we're beating that joke into the ground too long.
All those Muslim immigrants were taking all the.
I don't know. We haven't done like Tracer talking about Brexit and Pokemon Go.
Oh no!
I could figure out a voice for that. That's how we roll.
Yeah. If we do.
And then I ask you what time it is, and then we go to bed.
So.
That's every episode.
We can all agree, at the very least, though, that the world is going to shit, right?
Oh yeah.
We'll probably kind of
Luca,
bond over that.
Yeah, that's every week.
People are dying playing Pokemon Go. Nintendo has taken care of the problem for us. All the idiots are just going to install that app and then immediately get eaten by a crocodile.
That's what I saw yesterday. I saw a handful of people riding their bikes around Forsyth, and while they were riding their bikes, they had their phone out in front of their faces while they're just weaving around the crowd. And it's just like, people are doing, like, and I've definitely seen people doing the exact same thing in cars. And it's just like,
I almost got hit by some asshole checking his dumb Pokemon phone.
That's Nintendo's great plan.
That's actually pretty scary.
It's Darwinism.
It is.
Yeah, they're gonna hurt more people than they're gonna hurt themselves.
But it's not their fault.
Well, they're already putting up signs on the highway, like on those electronic signs. It's like, don't drive in Pokemon.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that it has to be pointed out that you should be if you're not a child, if you have a child, watch your child while they play the game, and if you're an adult, be an adult while you play the damn game.
Oh, that was
maybe that should be part of the EULA for it.
That was something else where a set of parents or something was trying to sue Pokemon because their kids were getting in trouble or getting hurt while playing it, and it's like the same thing with the gorilla. It's like they're children
that got shot.
They're children. You have to keep an eye on them. What are you doing giving them phones anyway?
Actually, from now on, can we just refer to gorillas like the gorilla incident, and then just never put it in any kind of context?
Yeah. Just any gorilla incident could sum up just about any situation.
But yeah, it is like that incident where it's just like common sense would really prevent.
I actually saw recently a picture of two gorillas eating each other's assholes in front of a bunch of kids at the zoo.
Yeah.
And I can't yet explain it, but I'm pretty sure that succinctly describes modern civilization. I'm not sure why, but I saw that picture and I was like, yeah.
That's the new gorilla situation when one of them gets shot while they're doing that.
Well, that's what if you're in your car, with your cell phone on, and you're trying to catch a damn Bidoof or whatever, you might as well just be eating some gorilla's asshole out.
This is the magical moment in the podcast where we figure out how long someone actually listens.
The kids watching.
Well, at that point, you are contributing just as much to society.
It's like
honestly, is it just me, or is there kind of a slight delay here?
No, there is a slight delay. You just talk over us since you're the one coming through Skype, and we'll stop for you since there's the delay. But what were you saying?
Okay, sorry, because I feel like such an asshole. There's nothing worse
no,
than
you can't help. You can't help.
I really do think actually that this whole Pokemon Go thing is kind of disturbing, because honestly, I loved Pokemon as a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old child, and I got my fill. I really did. I leveled up my Charizard and Mudkip to level 100, and I caught a whole lot of Pokemon, and it was great. And by the time I was 14, it was all right, now I'm done with Pokemon. Not in an angry way. Not fuck Pokemon, but all right, I don't need any more Pokemon in my life, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about a lot of stuff. It's but we just keep hey guys, remember that thing from your childhood that you liked that brought you comfort once? Well, we know your life is probably hell right now, so here it is again, shinier and brighter than before.
Everyone wants the shiny, mature version.
Jordan, how many times have I said that at the show so far? Practically verbatim.
Yeah.
Everyone's just dead inside, and that's good, but Steven Universe is on all summer, so I can pretend everything is magical.
Yes. But that's exactly how it is, though. Because it's if you I like to, I dislike bullshit. I don't like just talking to people small talk and hey, have you seen the new blah blah blah? Well, how about the weather? So it's if you talk to almost anybody, in my experience, for long enough, you kind of end up getting a response of like, I'm really worried about money, I'm really worried about, like, my place in society, I'm really worried about, like, all of this really basic shit that generally nobody's really talking about, right? But it's on everybody's mind somehow at the same time. So I think that the fact that we're just kind of marinating in this nostalgia, you know, we're almost like hearkening to a simpler and better time. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, that simpler and better time is like when we were children. Right? And we're all like slightly, somewhat vulnerable to that, I think. Like, we all have like a thing where it's like, you know, if they brought that thing specifically from your childhood back, you would be like really ecstatic. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I had to really kind of fight myself a little bit on that Final Fantasy VII reboot, right? Because I grew up on Final Fantasy VII. I still think Final Fantasy VII was a great game.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
But like, I'm
we
looking
could have a whole episode about that game.
Yeah, and the music holds up, by the way. Did you?
Yeah, that's well. I feel like they.
Yeah, because
Well, the problem is one, we don't. The media companies and these content providers, they don't encourage anyone to sit and slow down and think about anything that they're consuming. It's just consume it and then move on to the next thing. And we're just seeing diminishing returns on that, to the point that everything just has to be familiar and easy, because that's the only way they can get people to just, you know, consume anything anymore, because it's not satisfying at all. So the best they can do is just keep throwing it at you.
They'll figure out just what generation or group of people is the most uncomfortable and anxious and needs a dose of childhood right now, and then just plug them full of it.
And here's the sad thing, is that it's having an effect on the current generation who they don't want to move past anything. Like, they will get into one thing, and then every new thing that comes along is just an excuse to refresh their enthusiasm about that first thing.
And we were talking earlier about how like the Sonic Boom cartoon came out, and people like lost their shit about
Sonic
that.
is a perfect example of this.
Like the Sonic fandom lost their shit about that because it wasn't like a dark, gritty, mature Sonic or something. It's a blue hedgehog that ate chili dogs, and so we don't need to.
It wasn't
that.
Where's the Dr. Robotnik from my youth that
wanted
to
pollute? Wasn't directed by Tarantino?
Yeah, it's like.
Wow, they're making a PG-13 rated Sonic movie. What else do you want, man, babies? What is Sonic gonna say? Fuck like once? Yes, they're making a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and allegedly it's gonna be PG-13.
It will get to that point though, where like Tarantino's the one to like eventually handle like the next shot at a Mario movie or something.
Tarantino's Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's nothing. It's just like two movies split apart, and it's just like 6 hours of Sonic being shot in the face.
It's like
Tails, you fucking piece of shit!
How many times can Sonic say the N-word in the course of a movie?
Drug addiction. Getting secret blowjobs from Amy, like, behind Sonic's back. Sonic finds out in the last act and, like, murder-suicides everybody. I would watch that movie. Just saying.
Yeah, it's like once it gets to that point where people get so desperate it just folds.
God, it's like everything played as well.
He's like one of the last few directors that I actually have like real respect for. I shouldn't even say directors, just like artists. You know, like I saw Hateful Eight not very long ago, and in some ways it was like a rehash of every Quentin Tarantino movie that came before it, and in other ways it was original and great, but it just kind of reminded me just how rare it is for somebody to make a piece of art that it isn't part of its own like massive expanded universe, even though there is technically like kind of a Quentin Tarantino movie timeline, even though the movies aren't like really related to each other.
Yeah.
And B, that you can actually like approach mature topics in a way that has wit and sense of humor. You know, like in some ways it was actually like one of the most racially progressive movies I've ever seen, because like two characters who kind of sort of make it to the end. Spoiler alert! I don't know if you guys watch this movie.
I haven't seen it, but feel free to spoil it.
Yeah, warning, spoilers for anyone who wants to see Parcheesi 8 or whatever it is. Hateful Eight. God, what's that card game?
It's Hateful Eight, right? But so at the end, the two surviving kind of characters, and I say kind of because it's kind of implied that they're probably going to die soon, are Samuel Jackson, who is like this Union war hero, and this really racist white sheriff, right? Who like you spend the whole movie kind of hating, but they sort of teamed up because they were like the only two characters who were sure they weren't trying to poison each other, and like. They're still they're still flinging insults and like racial hate towards one another, but like at the very end, like right after they like end up murdering everybody else, they like have like this moment where they like kind of stick up for each other and bond over Samuel Jackson's like fake letter from Lincoln that he invented. And it was kind of like this weird, beautiful thing where it's like both of these characters are, kind of evil and varying degrees of racist, and yet, despite all this, they're like coming together and like really deeply appreciating one another as human beings.
Yeah.
Very, very bizarre, but like really actually, yeah. Well, very effective, I thought.
Back to that and the whole, like the consumption and the childhood thing. That's like sort of Tarantino's whole deal is that he just sits in his private theater and watches like several movies a day just to like figure out what he's gonna like bring together and amalgam into the next thing. But it's just like he's never gonna make Pulp Fiction 2 Pulp Harder, and like he's actually like considering the things that made these like classic 60s, 70s, 80s. I think that's where he hangs around, like the 60s through the 80s for his reference mostly, and he's thinking about what made them successful instead of like trying to regurgitate them. And I don't know. I haven't seen Hateful Eight yet, but I've seen all of Quentin Tarantino before that, and I'm a big fan.
Did he make that movie with the Nazis?
Yeah, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that movie was great.
Yes.
I love that movie.
My favorite one. That's my favorite movie.
Where they just were spoilers, I guess. Luca, we don't actually give a shit about spoilers.
Yeah, that one's been out for like 6 years anyway.
Like, anyone's listening to this, spoilers always.
Anyway, I've seen all of them.
But they fucking murder Hitler.
Yeah, all 5 of you.
They shoot him in the face with Uzis.
And it's like, yes, if we're gonna bring Hitler into this stuff, can he just die horribly every goddamn time?
No, that movie
just
is
a movie where Hitler's slowly flattened by a steamroller.
That's why I'm trying to make my Blu-ray collection better, and unfortunately the only Tarantino I have right now is Reservoir Dogs, but that will change soon enough.
That was, of course, almost like my least favorite one was I might even have the name wrong. It was Jackie Brown, right? That was the name of it.
No, yeah.
The one with that one, like that was by far my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, but that was still a great movie. I think it's impossible to watch one of those and not be at least impressed by the complexity of the story and the relatable. What's the word I'm looking for? How relatable the characters are.
Yeah,
for lack of a better word.
That's one of the best things about him, that he's you can always tell that he's just excited and trying his best at even if some of the jokes or the references or the action don't work out as well in some scenes, but it's he's always all there and just going for it all the time. We were talking on last week's episode, we were talking about God, why am I for? we were talking about Kojima from
getting increasing levels of insanity.
Hideo Kojima's and that's the same appeal that I think I have with him. He's just you can always tell the moments that Hideo Kojima and Quentin Tarantino, because Kojima was trying to team up with Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus for the horror.
Yeah.
And like I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, wasn't that supposedly scary as hell too?
They put out that PT demo that was fucking terrifying. Holy crap!
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they need to.
I was really disappointed that they canceled that.
Yeah, they might. Well, they have Norman Reedus was attached to that one too, and now they have Norman Reedus back for the new crazy Norman Reedus fetus game that they're working on. So I don't know if they're going to bring Del Toro in for that too.
Shadow fetus.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Kojima, and I feel bad because I used to play a lot of video games, but when I did, I was kind of like, I knew about Metal Gear Solid and I followed it, but I was never like, I was kind of doing if it's got cell shading and like bright Japanese things, I'm probably gonna like be more inclined to spend my time on that. And Metal Gear Solid was kind of like a little bit. It's not that the story was too heavy, but like the whole gameplay was too complicated and too involved for me to really be able to get into. But I really do like and respect the way that the guy puts together a story and like his ability to make very crazy and out there plot twists, often to very memorable and very good music.
Yeah, and that was they never.
Yeah, Silent Hill is Silent Hill is like one of my all-time favorite things, right? And so that's one of the things where I'm like, I feel like I'm vulnerable. Like if they do like a new Silent Hill thing, I'll be like, oh, what's that? So Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro and Silent Hill, for me, that was like, there's no way that I cannot be excited about that.
Yeah.
So I was so disappointed when they canceled that.
No, definitely. That was I didn't really get on the Metal Gear train until about a year ago when my brother got me a copy of the whole collection that had like everything from the first one to like Sons of Liberty. I think those.
Any of those.
That's good. Like, well, they never marketed those correctly in America, at least. So growing up, I always thought that Metal Gear was just like gritty future spy stuff, but they never marketed any of the best stuff. Like I would have loved to get into that game if they would have even shown me a second of like people turning into bees or flaming spacemen or like.
Wait, into bees?
Yeah, that was in the third one. You fought a boss that was just like he would turn into bees, and then his bees would conglomerate on him and turn into an AK-47, and he'd start shooting at you.
He's like a bee-mancer?
Yeah, and like the big, like one of the big bosses was like just like a lightning god, essentially. It's just like, I never knew any of that. I thought it was all just like espionage. I thought it was like James Bond with more facial hair.
You didn't know that Kojima was doing cocaine and bath salts?
Yeah, no, I had no clue, and now it's just like, where's this been all my life? And
keyboard laced with LSD on the tips of the keys.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as I get back into it, as soon as I finally got into it and caught up, the fifth one came out, and it's just like, this one you get to fight like flaming whales and or whales made out of fire. And stuff like that, and it's just like, all right, I'm on board.
A zombie video game where like one of the enemies is just like a giant zombie whale.
Yeah, they never do anything.
Like it's that. It's attacking the beach. Hurry up before it zombifies the beach.
There is a new fascination with like underwater games that's coming along. I think it's mostly coming along with like VR and stuff like that. But there are also a lot of people who are finally figuring out how to make underwater mechanics work.
Well, the graphics the engines can finally support it.
Yeah, that's like one of the big VR demos that I've heard a lot of people talking about, where you're just like underwater and like you see a whale like feet away from you, and apparently it just freaks you the fuck out. But I mean, I would love to invest in something like that, but I haven't been able to try any VR machines.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I'd throw up immediately. But I was gonna say they should do one where you can just spear a whale.
It seems so cool.
And eat it.
It seems so cool, and yet here's another one of those. First of all, I'm a little bit fascinated by this guy that I've been listening to talks from recently. Have you guys ever heard of a man named Neil Postman?
No. Let me look this up.
All right. Well, Sure, I'm not gonna go into like a whole bio of him, but just so to preempt this a little bit, he does have cool points because Roger Waters of Pink Floyd fame famously made an album that was inspired by one of his books. Anyway, this guy had a big spiel that he did, which was that we are constantly overloaded with information, and it's, as the title of his book suggested, which was amusing ourselves to death, we are kind of like just meaning and context is becoming increasingly irrelevant. So like what I do is, I paint these really involved sci-fi, fantasy, psychedelic kind of scenes, right? And I try to like go for like a whole ecosystem and everything, and it's like, whether you think it's good or it's bad, right? It takes me a lot of time and a lot of energy. But so like when I don't do that, I want to, and I kind of need to, like go outside or do something that's like real life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm increasingly finding that like real life is like an antiquated value to people, right? And this VR thing scares me a little bit because it's like already, myself, and I got like all my digital devices. Like I always got my music on, I always got something going on, right? But it's like, where and when will we decide that we just need some goddamn space from this stuff, right? Because I think we've all been in situations where we were with other people, whether it was an intimate situation with one person or just like friends or just like in a large group of people, where it's like we're all being essentially, if you'll pardon my phrase, socially retarded, right? Like we're all just kind of like lost in this technological vortex of stuff and information, and because of that, we actually we avoid the discomfort of socializing, right? Because socializing is an innately discomforting act. Well, at least if you're an introvert like me and a lot of other people.
Yeah. Well, like
so we don't break through that though. Sorry, we don't break through that into emotionally mature relationships and experiences, because increasingly there's no real necessity to do that. Like you can just keep hiding from that for your entire life via Pokemon Go, via VR, via video games, via even listening to music all the time.
It's like we don't need to have emotions anymore. We have Steven Universe gifts.
Well, that's like I can definitely understand that feeling with VR, because that's it. Like I want to try it, but it's a terrifying concept at the same time. But how do you feel about like augmented reality? Like because despite the crap that we're giving it, Pokemon Go is taking people who were originally glued to televisions or computers or consoles or something and getting them out in the open. And although it's like stupid that you can so readily identify people playing this game by who's just walking around staring at their phone, it's also getting people to like talk to each other and introduce to each other based off of that. And it's just like I feel less of that anxiety with augmented reality compared to virtual reality, but I'm also not sure if you're just completely distracting yourself with the augmentation.
Well, the thing about Pokemon Go, at least, is that Nintendo at least has their hearts in the right place. They are not a company that just creates things for people to consume and then just toss away the next day and not even think about it.
I do like me some Nintendo.
We can't blame Nintendo if people are just being idiots when they're playing this thing. Just like you can't blame people for being idiots, like using anything irresponsibly.
That's Darwinism.
Yeah, it's like you can't... It's like... is Japan having these kind of problems? Are they having to put up signs saying, hey, idiots, don't walk into traffic while playing this dumb game for 5-year-olds?
Yeah, like video games have
because
such
they're
a
all
different...
busy fucking their inflatable sex dolls, man.
No, that's I think
that's
like
a different issue, Luca.
Yeah, it was like especially with how much more popular like the DS. With how much more popular like the DS and other like portable gaming solutions in Japan are, like the gaming is very like handled in a very much a different light, and so despite how I'm sure it's insanely popular for people to be playing Pokemon Go over there now. It's a much less new and out there thing for people to be out in the open walking around playing video games.
But in Japan, I don't think that they're having to put up notices saying, "Hey, don't play this at a museum for people that died."
Oh man, that was rough.
Don't play it at...
Don't go to the Holocaust Museum and try to catch a Doduo, assholes.
Yeah, don't try and catch a Haunter there.
Oh.
Or Mr. Jinx.
Yeah, the only way to catch a Ghastly in Japan is to go to Okinawa or Hiroshima or something.
Oh,
yes,
not really, but that would be horrifying. Yeah.
God, like a Voltorb.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. Well, that's I've been completely disappointed I haven't seen more ghost Pokemon around here, because Savannah's supposed to be haunted as hell.
Oh yeah, we're built on ghosts and skeletons. I love it. It's the perfect town for me.
Yeah, dead bodies 3 inches under every step you take.
Yeah, World War II, plenty of ghosts, right?
Yeah, it's how are they deciding where to place these things? There's the other thing I heard about that, and this terrifies the hell out of me. Apparently they're going to start going with sponsored Pokestops and gyms and stuff, and McDonald's is first on the list. They can walk. You can walk right outside and get a delicious McGriddle and a Pikachu. Yeah, so all the walking you did on Pokemon Go all day can be completely destroyed when you go into McDonald's and then get a large fry. But that kind of stuff scares the hell out of me. That they have this wildly popular game that I think I heard yesterday that in the first week it made I want to say
it's making
140 million.
Yeah, it's making $2 million a day on average for them.
It must be 14 million. It's
the launch was probably huge too, dude.
Yeah, and it's and all of that in server issues and people still trying to figure this out because it gives you no real direction. I don't think we've even reached the point where it's so massively available and working so well that people are actually buying into all of the little microtransactions on a wide scale. That's still this thing is going gangbusters already, and they're going gangbusters, and they're giving tons of personal information and access to corporations being able to direct people by where they place gyms and Pokestops. That shit is terrifying.
Oh, that absolutely is, especially with the social media, because they are 100% trying to manipulate people with all of that. At the same time, it's I don't know. It's I'm not gonna go to a McDonald's and go, I'm already here. Might as well get diabetes.
And it's also directed towards kids so much and stuff.
I can get a Frosty while catching a Vanillux.
And it's how much of this is a victory for Michelle Obama and getting kids out, and then McDonald's becomes their corporate sponsor and turns it all around.
You can be how much before it's just everyone's walking out and it's just it's.
The fact that people are doing this in their cars so much.
How long till you're you find yourself at a KKK meeting?
Oh. What was that, Luca?
Have you guys, oh wait, I forgot what I was going to say, shit. Have you guys ever seen, have you guys ever seen Her, the movie?
I've seen the first 20 minutes of it. It's the one where the guy falls in love with an artificial intelligence.
Oh, no, I read the Wikipedia entry, I guess.
I can't recommend that movie enough. I think it's I probably wouldn't put it in my top 10 or anything like that, but it's really, really good. And one of the things about it that I think is great is it's basically a hard science fiction movie masquerading as a romantic comedy, but also it paints a very realistic image of what the sort of near future will look like.
Oh,
right? I mean, there's all kinds of things you can say about the plot where the guy falls in love with his operating machine, where it's well, technically that specific thing that happens in the movie probably would not happen, but basically there's a bunch of shots where guys walking down the street, guys going somewhere, and everyone even if they don't have the super smart virtual intelligence on their smartphone device thing, they've all got an operating system, right? The operating systems are all social. They're not necessarily intelligent, but, you know, like you can tell them, like, hey, schedule me this, you know, play me this, give me that, you know, you can just kind of like talk to it and know what you're saying, and it'll respond to you, and, you know, like, naturally over time you'll have some kind of a relationship with it. And so, you know, people are just walking down the street nonchalantly, you know, with their devices and their earpieces, just kind of having a conversation with themselves, essentially, and this machine, this handheld machine, and it's freaky. The movie kind of wants to make it a little bit freaky because it's like no one's talking to anybody anymore. But I do think that we're kind of headed in that direction because people are glued to their phones, and, you know, technology with those things isn't getting any stupider, right? Augmented reality is going to be more of a thing. It's not going to end with Pokemon Go. There's going to be, you know, peripherals. I mean, what do you call it? Microsoft is working on a thing, right? They have a. It has a name, right? It has like some kind of a fancy project name.
Yeah, I can't recall the name.
That you put on that has the augmented reality built in.
Mm-hmm. Well, Google had Google Glass.
I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, but stuff like that. Google Glass actually, you know, kind of thankfully, I think, didn't really take off. But I think part of the reason for that is that it was kind of like sort of a niche and experimental thing at the time, and it was also pretty expensive. But yeah, once you start to get in a place where you can just kind of make it relatively cheap and give it actual, you know, real life applications that are going to help you, you know, like actually having information listed on your, you know, heads up, basically, heads up display when you're walking down the street, you know, how good is this restaurant, what's how far am I from where I need to go, stuff like that. I think if you make that easy enough for people, and if you make it widely enough available, right, if you make it cheap enough, people will flock to it like moths to a fire. Not even necessarily because they think it's super cool, but because they'll be able to talk themselves into thinking like, okay, this is something that I need for my life or for my job. And once you've got your foot in the door, then, you know, why not get a game? Why not, you know, like have some fun with the thing, right? That's sort of the logical next step. And maybe next thing, Pokemon is fucking everywhere. Not Pokemon necessarily, but whatever thing is hot at the moment. And part of me thinks that doesn't even have to be 100% destructive. And yet, I just keep thinking that we're so busy trying to distract ourselves, you know, and so few people are actually like meaning or actually really happy or really fulfilled in what they do. That it seems less like we're moving towards technological utopia with these things, even though they're upside. Like, yeah, you get to walk outside. Oh, yeah, you get to, you know, like meet new people who are also doing this thing.
Well,
it just seems like we're rearranging chairs on the Titanic rather than fixing anything.
Well, people are always talking about how we're in the midst of a renaissance of the human spirit, and all that amounts to is Steven Universe gifts and Overwatch fan art.
Well, but that's going back to that movie. Like that's what I had mostly surmised from. Was it the bit of it that I had seen, and what was that? Movies with Mikey did a special on it that, like, in his summaries of his summaries and critiques and analysis of movies are really amazing. But just the fact that was such an accurate portrayal of what we could be looking at in the near future, and especially with the Microsoft glasses, I think they're moving away from actually being a video game platform and using themselves more for like medical
indoor voice,
social research and stuff like that. But with how far that's going with augmented technology, and how we're seeing just how many people are in love with their phones now with Pokemon Go coming out, like the fact that her was centered around this guy who had the same operating system as everyone else. And like this, like that was one of the points in the movie, wasn't it? That like tons of people across the world were having these romances with the same operating system. Like it was basically fetishized at that point, and so people are just falling in love and creating relationships within the echo chamber of their own devices and their own mind. And so that's just like that's a point of augmented reality where it just folds into itself and it doesn't seem like really useful as a social tool, but more just something to like keep you entertained and keep you away from being social and getting. But it's like it's got so much potential at the same time. Like you can like that's the whole argument with Pokemon Go and all that. But I guess we have to really see just like how well it develops and what people learn from experiencing it. But if just everyone's just falling in love with in love with their phones instead of like meeting other people or seeing the world. Or
you mean like if a year from now they're all just switching to the app, or instead you find like Tracer in the real world, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, come find me, mate. I might be behind that trash can. God damn it, I fucking hate Tracer.
I think like I'm increasingly like just hopeless in video games because I used to love video games, and part of this is because I'm a 25-year-old man. I don't really have so much time where I can just say like, okay, I'm going to dedicate 5 hours to playing a video game today. But also it's like I think you have to like I'm fascinated by Dark Souls, right? The series of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and the Bloodborne series.
I've been on a tear
because
with
I think that there's a lot of actual like real creative genius. I'm sorry.
I have been on a tear. Like keep going because I've been on a tear with that and absolutely needing to like get further into this and talk more about it.
Okay, great. I haven't actually played it myself. I'm lying. I played it a tiny bit. My brother is really, really, really into it. And I gotta say, like from an artist. One second. Cosa c'è?
It's your mom, Luca.
Adesso non puoi. Adesso non puoi. No, no, ma cosa stai facendo? Vai via. Sto parlando. Sì, tu sei maleducato, mi stai interrompendo. Sì, ok, ciao.
We're keeping all of that in.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
Alright,
I live with my mom, so that's super embarrassing.
No, that was awesome, dude.
But
it was like, what was that, Italian?
it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like the worst thing.
Like, that's a treat for someone who understands Italian.
It's like, oh, look, I have to show you something. I'm like, I'm doing a podcast. Go away. Yep, grown-ass man
like,
right
come
here.
on,
Talking
Mom.
about having adult problems.
I don't have time to play video games. Mom!
Please don't. Come
But yeah, back.
No, but it's, I mean, like, honestly, though, like...
It's like,
it's
Mom,
hard
I'm
as
trying
fuck
to discuss my boat
to make
loan.
money right now, like, it's getting better, but it is like a constant thing. Like, I got a part-time job. I'm doing like 30 hours a week, plus I'm doing art full-time, so like literally most of my waking life I'm working.
Yeah.
Still not making enough money somehow, but I'm working like literally almost all the time.
Yeah.
But what was I saying about Dark Souls?
Something about like your brother's crazy about it, and you like think there's real creative genius in there.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think from an artistic point of view, not just visually, but also musically, and even the way that the game handles, from what little I played of it, it's like, man, there's so much creativity and so much, interesting stuff going on there, and yet, like, you can watch people pouring, like, hundreds and hundreds of hours into this thing, and really, essentially, learning a skill, like, you need to be skilled in that game in order to really, like, be good at it and really advance through it, or not that game, that series. They're all kind of, like, tough and really involved, and I wonder about, like, if we shouldn't start to re-examine that as a, as I don't know if institution is the right word, but like as a thing that we just allow and totally tolerate as a culture, because you're not, like the moment the credits roll, in any of these games, especially the ones that you have to like invest yourself in, invest in learning a skill, then you kind of, you're forced to realize then, like, oh crap, I accomplished nothing, And there's various ways that you can sort of rationalize that away, but I've never really been able to completely, because what do you say to yourself in those situations? Like where it's like, you are now proficient at a thing that is beautiful and artistically rich, but it really has no bearing whatsoever on the way that you can live your life.
Well, you finish the game, and then you go, oh, it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I DVR'd Steven Universe. You just
go...
It's like I said, all that happens... Well, it's the problem with media is, like I said, they just encourage you to consume a thing, like, let it just get completely absorbed in it. And then when you're done with it, toss it out, start in on the next thing.
That's the difference between media as franchise and media as art, though, really, I think, where it's like that, like the same thing, like we've talked about while I've been playing Dark Souls 3, just how so much of it is vague and absolutely, but not vague in the sense that it's leaving it open for you to place yourself or your own characters or ideas or anything. It's not just like...
You don't want to live as your terrible monster person.
Yeah, like you don't want to place yourself in like the open plot hole or like the holes between the plot and this world, like because it's fucking terrifying and majestic at the same time. But
shipping the ancient gods of darkness.
Not even about just like placing yourself, but like they thought about it. The story exists there and it's all there, but it's not holding your hand and giving you closure at every second. And I think that's something that needs to be like better understood in like modern media, like particularly movies and animation and television stuff. Like people don't need the closure for everything that happens. We don't need the background story for everything. Like we don't need them to show us flashbacks for everything that happened. In Dark Souls, they'll have tons of these little moments where you'll find like a dead, charred corpse next to a treasure chest or something, and like you loot the body and you find out that they were wearing like the clothes or the armor of someone that you knew from like a previous part of the game or even one of the other games entirely. And it's just like, that's like, it's not gonna show you what happened. You have to piece it together and you have to actually like explore the world and think about it if you want to figure that out. But it's not gonna waste time taking you out of the experience that your character is having in order to tell that. Like I can't remember who it was for the life of me, and I keep thinking about this, like this idea and not remembering who said it. I think the original, I think the original criticism was in reference to Mark Twain or something, but is talking about how, like needing to use, like flashback or time travel or completely disrupting the story so that you can explain something for the viewer that very obviously wasn't clear enough in the story. Like that's kind of just like, that's a weakness in the story and it completely breaks the immersion if you're taken
100%.
out of the character you're supposed to be experiencing so that you can like see a backstory or something.
Well, we have to know that backstory. We have to hear all about...
This is why I kind of like... Oh, sorry.
We have to hear all about the time he applied for a boat loan. We gotta know who his tax auditor was.
Well, that's just bad storytelling, though, right? Like, that's... Some of this is, like, if you're going that deep, that's just textbook, like... Well, nobody needs to know that, right? It's like, you learn this stuff in classes in the secret department, right? It's like... Alright, the character's going down the stairs now. Nothing interesting happens with them going down the stairs. Might as well not show it, right? People understand that sometimes houses have more than one floor, and sometimes people move between those floors. And unless you're being super confusing about it somehow, it's best to avoid showing like all the nuance and all the detail that would logically make like the narrative more apparently contiguous or intact. because you do need to give people the opportunity to do their own work and put things together by themselves, even if it isn't just kind of like a relatively small way. So Dark Souls and all those games, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I agree. They're good at those things. They're good at telling a story that you don't have to, you don't have to take yourself out of the action to experience it. You can piece it together as you like, or not at all if that's your cup of tea, or almost not at all if that's your cup of tea. But my real concern is, again, that how much is too much? Like, how much... Because I feel like there used to be a time when, like, the peak entertainment, like, if you were looking for art and entertainment, right? Like, you would watch Blade Runner, or you would watch some other great classic movie, or maybe an album from a great band or something, and that would be 2 hours tops of your life, right? Now it's like, okay, Breaking Bad, which I love, is what was that, like 5 seasons, right? About, I want to say 60-ish episodes, maybe.
Yeah, and I think
whatever it was.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're watching the.
Yeah,
the
sorry,
dog.
you were going to say something.
Yeah. I think with the dog was just snorting and nothing. I don't know why, but
Oh, the cat.
I don't know what you're talking about there with, like, how it's just getting bigger and bigger, and you're having to invest more and more of your time to sort of get the same satisfaction, I guess, with a story. It's just like, I mean, that's kind of a flawed understanding. It's just like, there are so many other things that people can understand, like, bigger isn't better. Just because it costs more doesn't mean it's better. Just because there are more fries on your plate doesn't mean you're getting a better meal.
Well, increasingly fewer people are creating work that's actually challenging.
Sure.
At least in the sense that people have to slow down and think about what they're consuming, and not just clap their hands and go, "Oh, Spider-Man said, oh shit, that's so funny."
Well, and
stuff like that.
That's kind of I think that's sort of a symptom of like advancing capitalism, and sort of the idea that we need to just like throw more and more at something to make it better. But there's also the opposite happening, just like not in the limelight. I mean, that's was it the Neo-Futurist Theater in Chicago has been running for like 30 years or something now, and their whole idea is that instead of trying to have like a bigger, more expansive 2-hour play or something, they're going to have 90 minutes of 33-minute plays, and each 3-minute play is going to have the emotional impact of a 90-minute play. And so it's like the opposite can be true too. It's just like and I think we're seeing that more as far as like video games and TV and movies and stuff go. We're seeing that more in the indie scene, where like you can find like smaller indie games that only take like an hour or two to finish, and it was still like a beautiful, emotionally impactful sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, or games that recognize the...
Like, you guys play Journey? That's one of my...
Journey? No, I haven't played that one yet. It's on my to-do list.
I finish like one video game a year.
It's so good. I love it.
And this year it was Pokemon
Can't
Yellow.
recommend it enough.
So, that's as far as I've gotten.
But no, it's wonderful. Guys, Journey is like 2 to 3 hours long, right? 3 hours if you really stop and like take in the scenery every once in a while. But it's fucking fantastic. It tells all the story that it needs to. It's beautiful to look at, and it lets you go after 3 hours. There's a wonderful ending, a wonderful gameplay and everything. But it's like you do it and you go on with your day. You know what I mean? It's like I think like, okay, I know that we've definitely beat Pokemon Horse to death at this point, but in the interest of keeping that ball rolling, I think like sooner or later we're going to have to establish that space and time in our lives, right, are a valuable resource, and we need to use that space and that time to some kind of a positive end. And right now we are definitely taught to be consumers and taught to just go after the thing that's popular at the moment, right? There's a fad in whatever it is you're into, games, movies, fucking television shows, and you chase that thing because that's the thing that's, you know, in vogue, and that's the thing that is to be chased at this moment in the culture. But in reality, you know, like, you can wake up from that, in my opinion, and sort of realize, you look around and realize, like, man, I've spent, like, a huge amount of my life doing things and watching things and participating in things that have no bearing whatsoever to my own personal well-being, to my own personal creative enrichment, right?
Yeah.
Because how much creative enrichment can you get from something when it's not letting you do anything else, when it just keeps demanding that you give it more and more of your time and more of your attention?
More of your money.
Yeah, that's the even worse thing with like you're talking about the games that take like 100 hours out of your time to actually complete them. That's even worse with mobile games and stuff like Pokemon Go, where there is no completion. You will never beat the game. You will never actually be the best, because especially they're putting in leaderboards with the next update or something. If you want to be on the top of that leaderboard, you're always going to have to be playing it 24/7.
Yeah, but to be fair, Nintendo also always puts in warnings and prompts telling you, hey, you've been playing this for a while, maybe stop.
Well, and that's just like the first thing you see when you open the game on the loading screen is like a guy looking at his phone and walking on a bridge and about to get eaten by a Gyarados because he's not looking up, and it's just like, oh.
It's like, here's the thing, these corporations can only do so much. Like, it's in this case, it's not Nintendo's fault that nobody is teaching people responsibility. They can only do so much.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting...
Yeah, well, that's true. They can only do so much. Like, you can't protect people from themselves, but if you're making the thing, you know, it's kind of like... it's a little bit like the gun conversation, right? It's like, well, people don't kill people, guns kill people. People love to say that, but it's like, all right, wait a minute. But if you're making the fucking guns that kill people, right? Like, maybe on some level, I'm not even saying on a legal level, right? But on some level, yeah, you're making the things that are killing people, and you are in some way culpable. So even if Nintendo goes out and says, like, hey guys, don't walk off a bridge, you know, it's like, all right, sure, but like, thank you, but you're still doing the thing, you know, you're still responsible for the thing that is making people participate in this kind of behavior.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the problem in this case is that Nintendo really isn't encouraging anyone to... Nintendo never encourages people to make their lives these games. You know, outside just, you know, it's meant to be recreation. They actually try to be responsible about that kind of thing. Right. And really the issue with Pokemon Go is that it just really does underscore all those other problems that especially American corporations have in just trying to get people to keep consuming shit mindlessly and to just resell people the same concepts, emotions, and just stories over and over without ever really having to let go of those, you know. That's the issue, is they don't want anything to go to the public domain, because then anyone can make a Superman story. And they don't want to pay anyone to come up with something new. That's the other thing. So now we're stuck in this cycle where people are just, you know, fed the same, like we said, the same familiar stuff over and over with as little. They want you to think about it as little as possible, because if you did think about it, you would see all the holes, all the ways in which it's empty, and you would go outside and do something else. Like, that's really what's going to happen with stuff like Overwatch, is that these people are going to grow up, they're going to like get into their 20s, their 30s, and they're going to realize that they dedicated their entire adolescence and early adulthood to this stupid game where their hero was just some dumb gamer in a plug suit. And it's just going to be, we're already seeing it, like an entire generation of just emotionally empty, immature adults.
We're getting far enough into like an era, like the era of professional gaming and stuff, that we're seeing people who are retiring from it, and it's like, even if they retire with, like, they retire with enough money to live 4 lives by the time they're like 23 or something, and like you see, I mean, they have all the money they could ever want and stuff, but then so many of them are just like, I know so many people and, like, have seen so many professional gamers, too, who've been playing, like, Dota or League of Legends or something, and are just so depressed that they were just, like, doing the same thing at a computer over and over and over again. It's just, like...
It's depressing that the thing you were most skilled at was just clicking really good at the right moment.
It's like, it's recreation, and...
Well, it's like
like, getting that...
Well, we can actually...
competitive at recreation is, like, those skills can be applied.
Well, here's the thing. We can actually... There's actually a way to...
It's increasingly lifelike, right? It's increasingly...
Well, hold on a sec. There's actually a good example of this in gaming. Remember Guitar Hero? People would argue back and forth whether or not, like, learning how to play those songs, like, in guitar, being able to have the dexterity to play those songs, was the same level of skill as learning an actual guitar. Yeah. And the answer is no.
Yeah, look what happened when they actually tried to release the guitar games that would like plug into a real guitar, and you actually had to hit all the real notes on a real guitar. It failed miserably because everyone got frustrated that it wasn't as easy as 5 buttons and like one string that you click.
No, but you don't understand. It's it's like Guitar Hero was just a dumb game of Simon. It was like Simon if Simon just punched out a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah, exactly. Like what real life circumstance are you going to apply, like, being able to push mid lane in League of Legends? Like, you're really good at that.
Being a pro gamer, like, that's it.
It's like you got to keep that dream alive.
Here, let's also pair it with one other thing. I think I've mentioned this before. It's like NASCAR in that NASCAR is not a sport. It's just driving a car really fast.
Yeah. Left turn, left turn, left turn.
It's like, sorry gamers, you're not athletes.
Yep.
You never will be. You can call it esports all you want. Here's the thing. Putting E in front of things is the lamest way to make it relevant.
I thought we learned that early back in, like, 2003.
That died in the 90s. That was lame in the 90s. People were, like, making fun of, like, like, we got emails and that made sense, but what about E-episodes? And they're like, you mean episodes? What the hell is that?
God.
You know, what we need,
I'm pretty proud of that
as a
joke.
society right now is to build a time machine, bring it back to, like, 1985, and just, like, abduct as many, like, college football jocks as we possibly can, and just, like, strategically plant them in communities across this country, and, like, have them beat up all the nerds on their Pokemon Go devices. That's the only way.
You mean just some scientist is going to come back in time? Wait a minute. If you catch that Growlithe, instead of going to the library and doing your report, you'll never invent the flying car.
That's been the worst part, just seeing, like, all the people who are shirking their assignments to play Pokemon Go already.
Maybe that's what happened. Oh, never mind. Like, I was about to say a thing that you would have had to censor.
I'm not like, trying to glorify bullying or anything, but there was a time when, like, if you were, like, I'm not, please
go on, Luca, it's fine.
As an endorsement of, like, eating kids up for their lunch money, but, like, there was a time when, like, it was seen as, like, a socially degenerative thing to do, to, like, be completely lost in your own, like, kind of indulgent, masturbatory, like, fantasy activity, right? It's like, oh man, you read, like, 50 hours of comic books every week? It's like, that's kind of lame as hell, right? But now it's like, oh, that means you're a nerd and that makes you cool.
Well, but that's not even, like, the nerd thing was...
I'm not really advocating to, like, beat people up over this, but, like...
Yeah, it's like the nerd thing was just...
It really does sound like...
The nerd thing was sort of just, like, arbitrarily applied to, like, the different, like, to video games or board games or whatever, but it's like, that's, like, the nerdy things aren't the things that we're critiquing. It's like, too much of anything is a bad thing.
You mean, well, here's the thing, it's possible entirely to recognize that bullying is a bad thing, but on top of that, living your life inside a video game is just as bad, in some ways maybe worse, because eventually you will deal with your bullies and move on, but if you never, like, put down the game, you're never going anywhere.
Yeah. Like,
it's like, that's you doing it to yourself. And you can't blame some asshole on the playground for that.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting at about a.
Because it just seems. Sorry.
We can't.
No, sorry. Finish that, and then we're gonna wrap up.
Finish that thought, and we'll wrap up.
Because what are we on time wise?
About an hour 15.
Yeah, we're running late. This is. All right, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
it
go
just
ahead.
seems like to me that we don't really have much of an outlet to be empowered in our actual lives, right? And there's traps all over the place that make us think okay, if you just do this, or you just buy into this, this fad, then you will be able to take back control of your own, your own existence in society. Oh. And I think that it's full of lies and fallacies because we're not actually doing that. We're increasingly finding out that our politics are rigged and fixed beforehand, and that we really don't actually have much of a say in what we can do in life. Because, take me and probably a bunch of people at SCAD, for example. My family's not rich, I'm not rich. It's it's a daily fight for me to say, no, I'm going to make art. I'm going to actually do a thing that's meaningful with my life, because it's man, every fucking day, every fucking week, there's something that's just aha, you don't have man, you're kind of a loser because you live with your parents, or you you don't have enough money. But it's the only way that I can do anything with my life that is in any way meaningful right now is to just ignore as much of outside stimuli from society that tells me what I should actually be doing, what I should actually be consuming. That was a really jumbled statement, I think. I was kind of trying to rush it a little bit, but hopefully you know what I'm talking
that's
about.
fine. And
it wasn't too repetitive.
We totally understand. We just had a whole quarter where we just kind of went back and forth on that ourselves, that kind of attitude.
Yeah, and it's just that people are spending inordinate amounts of time on one single obsession. I don't know. Everything thinks that we're in some sort of technological wonder age when half the world is on fire, and probably more than that, and people are expecting us to ignore it when we can't even eliminate a delay on a Skype call to record a podcast. The technology just isn't there.
You have people who act like we're having a renaissance of the human spirit, and I keep picking on stuff like Overwatch and Steven Universe, and that's really at the core of it, is stuff like that, just kind of vapid, empty, meaningless media that people are just consuming mindlessly, and then that's what they're that's what people talk about signal boosting and just promoting this stuff, and it's meanwhile stuff like Brexit and Donald Trump are happening, and it's holy hell, people, it's we're not even close to getting there. And it's and this will really have to be the end of it because we're really running over time, but it's kind of the whole Bernie Sanders thing. It's no offense to Bernie, who was an amazing man and who really did make a good run at it, but it's I don't know how he expected to win this election when to get these people to follow through on anything when their idea of political protest is just, it's on the level of posting a hashtag.
Yeah, that's.
I've actually sorry, very last thing.
Go ahead. You can have the final word, Luca.
I've gotten people, I've gotten people who have really gone after me online because I said something that was not progressive, or use a word that you're not supposed to use, right? Or it just this is a lot of people's idea of protest. Somebody says something you disagree with on the internet, you fucking bully that person as much as you can, and you feel good about yourself. Why do you do that? Because that's the maximum level of control that you can actually achieve in your own social sphere, oftentimes.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's very small town politics in its construction.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you.
This was a good
Luca.
episode.
Again, that's Luca Carey joining us today. Go check out his stuff. Absolutely.
We'll post a link to it in the description too.
Fantastic conversation today. Worth going over our usual time. But
Luca, you ever want to come back? You're more than welcome.
Absolutely. And there's a fly on the microphone. Don might have it.
You.
But
nope.
Yeah.
I'm not Mr. Miyagi.
Well, once again, as always, this is Grad Lab Podcast. The opinions reflected in the Grad Lab Podcast are not those of SCAD or any of its faculty or administrators or any of the other people that we may or may not have pissed off during the course of this recording. If, like, any of those people or any of the 5 people that listen.
Oh, what are they going to do? Just like the 2 people in your mom that least, what is your mom going to send me an email about Overwatch?
Yeah, my mom's going to start hashtag shut down Grad Lab. But
Keep a smudge tracer. How dare they?
yeah, thanks again. That's it for today. All right, bye.
All right. Are we